we are genuinely trying to democratize, access to high frequency trading in sports. For us, would always be a way for people to set on the 3% side, of people hopefully making money on sports markets. I think as prediction markets, grow, having tools like that could be interesting for a lot of people. High level, SIRE is an AI agent. More than an AI agent, I would say it's a multi-agent system that is plugged into prediction markets.
My Bears bet's on there. My Bears Packers game there. I saw that SIRE has bet against my Bears and they lost that one. To be fair, there weren't a lot of humans even watching that game that thought that the Bears could come back, but bear down. Today's episode is sponsored by Brave. Brave blocks ads and trackers on every site, even YouTube, but it also has crypto rewards, a secure multi-chain wallet, and private AI, all built right into the browser. It's time for a user-first web. It's time to switch to Brave. Well, the hot narratives in markets have shifted over the years from crypto to AI to prediction markets, but what if one project came along trying to merge all of those into one, and it might just be Crypto Project of the Year. Very excited to have on with us today, core contributor at SIRE, Max Sebti, joining us as SIRE gets nominated for Crypto Project of the Year. Max, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, congratulations on the nomination because, admittedly, I had not heard of SIRE before, but some of our Coinage NFT holders, our members, had flagged and nominated SIRE for this year. And congrats, man. I mean, as I dug into this, it's a very interesting project in trying to combine the idea of community ownership, an AI agent that's betting on things or looking for alpha in prediction markets, and then letting people share in some of the upside that comes from all that. So why don't we just start for people who might not have heard of SIRE before, what it's all about.
Yeah, no, thanks. I mean, we're really grateful to be part of the list. But yeah, at high level, SIRE is an AI agent. More than an AI agent, I would say it's a multi-agent system that is plugged into prediction markets. And that is also leveraging the power of our vision AI company called Score. So the system, this agentic system is actually, getting data, crunching data from all different sources to then bet on sports betting lines on prediction markets. Initially, we had a terminal where people could just go and find lines for themselves. But now we're moving towards more of a vault kind of mechanism that we built. At the moment, we have one vault that is live called the Alpha Vault. And this vault is more about, taking one side. So it's a directional type of, of system. And very, very soon, we're going to launch a new vault called the Delta Vault, which is going to be more of a market-making vault. And yeah, I'm pretty sure that we'll have a bit of time to talk about it. But that's pretty much the high level breakdown.
No, it's interesting. And I think, the idea of, as you mentioned, co-founder and CEO at Score, I think we can get into some of the vision components here being built into trying to find alpha here. As you mentioned it's kind of stemming from the idea that has now gotten more coverage, the idea of prediction markets as everything gets turned into a market, that there may be kind of, high frequency trading, automated market makers, and some pretty big giants kind of trading against retail, and the edge just simply not being there for retail. So, I mean, talk to me about that from like the concept of trying to make things maybe a little bit more fair landscape than just a David and Goliath story.
Yeah, I mean, we started SIRE because we're combining, both of, let's say, our experiences as co-founders. So there's four of us. I was working with Peter, one of our co-founders, just before Score, at a company that I co-founded called Crunch DAO. And we were running machine learning competitions for engineers to help banks, hedge funds, and financial institutions to get better models. And then when we launched Score and we were working on very complex computer vision, challenges in the world of sports, we thought, why don't we just create an agentic system that would help people to be finally part of the 3% of people that are making money on sports markets. For us, that was more of an AI challenge than anything else. So making it, community driven was like really obvious, was an obvious thing to do for us. And yeah, so combining those experiences, high frequency trading or quant, let's say trading and all the computer vision capabilities we're building at Score was for us, like the best thing to do, so we could bring something new on the market, but also prove that from an AI perspective, our team was, quite good, quite decent, and able of, of bringing something like this to the market.
Yeah, and kind of just, I guess, back when I was at CNBC, there were a few different kind of prediction services, shall we say, sold for sports betting. The idea of same kind of concept is you can't win on your own. You need kind of help along the way. Let me give you some analytics, and maybe you're smarter about making your bets, which is interesting. But that obviously doesn't have the component of kind of, the AI piece built into this, or potentially even the idea of community betting in terms of being able
Mm.
to survive some of the volatility that has to come with it. If you don't have a
Yeah.
huge, deep pockets, some of those losses might wipe you out. So it's also understanding how conviction works here. And so in that regard, I mean, what kind of prompted? I know you mentioned your background in terms of Crunch DAO, but what kind of prompted the idea of bringing in a pro rata, put your money in, take your money out from something like this?
I think we just had this very simple idea of open sourcing sports syndicates, and we wanted people to be able to come buy units from the vault, track their unit price, and then sell their units when they're happy about the unit price, and then just, go in and out in a very simple way. And we wanted to let people experience what it is to be part of this kind of journey, rather than being kind of a closed, community, or even like a gated community where you had to know someone and get, introduced to the system. I mean, everyone is talking about democratizing, new experiences, or allowing people to leverage AI. So for us, that was, kind of also obvious again to make it completely open and easy to access.
Yeah, and I guess too. I mean, part of that is going to be the results. I was reading your guys' year-end wrap-up and kind of looking into how things have done. Obviously, as you mentioned, there's some volatility in terms of how these things tend to perform. But on the margin, or kind of after you kind of adjust for that, I mean, what kind of results are you shooting for? Kind of reminds me, by the way, of like robo funds in terms of like, hey, here's what pick like your how risk averse you want to be here.
Yes.
I mean, how do you kind of think of what the goal? Obviously, I guess you probably can't like say, "Hey, we're going to shoot for this," like an ETF might.
Yeah.
But what's the
No,
what's
yeah.
the idea in terms of planning it out?
So I would say, if you compare this to kind of the typical hedge fund world, something that would do 20% on an annual basis, 20% return on an annual basis would be great. The top star at something like Millennium, like the best Millennium pod, is returning like 100%, north of 100% per year, which would be kind of a moonshot. And some people in sports syndicates can do better if they really find this very, very specific edge. But the reality is, when you trade on prediction markets, you're also limited by the markets you can find there. And we noticed that, teams like, polymarkets or Kalshis, they're really good at, adding new markets, but for now it's still a bit limited. So I definitely can't tell you exactly what we're shooting for, but we definitely want to be one of the top, um, kind of community-driven hedge fund on the market. So the ambition is here for sure. And even if we've got a bit of volatility, the recent numbers that are, performed by the agents are showing like a strong trend, and we're really happy about the way things are structured. So yeah, no, obviously can't tell you like an exact number,
Yeah.
but people can track things, on our website and see how it goes in a very transparent way. So I think it's also easy for people to make their minds around it.
Well, one of the other interesting things too around, I guess, the tokenomics element of all this, or the fact that there even is a token tied to this, makes it eligible. Obviously, as we're always looking at crypto project of the year, it's a little tough to either A, determine what's a crypto project, and B, what makes something a crypto project of the year when it comes to like standing out from the field. And so you guys have SIRE as a token,
Yeah,
and I'd be curious to kind of get the sense of where or what plans look like in terms of how the token's built in for people who again are new to it.
yeah, yeah.
The idea of why that's needed.
So the SIRE token was obviously a way for us to make it community driven. So it was fair launched. We had to buy our own bag, as a core contributing team, and the reason it's a token is also, as I said, just because we want it from day one to be owned by the community. So people could also have a huge say in what was happening. It was built as a DAO, in our mind since day one. And the beauty of our model, even if it takes a bit of time, and I think a few people, kind of decided to put their attention on something else, which is completely fine. Everything will make sense when the vault starts to really pick up because it's a buyback and burn flywheel, that has been designed from a tokenomics perspective. So when the agent, I'm saying agents because there's multiple agents, obviously, but when SIRE
Mhm.
makes profit, part of the profits are used to buy back the token and burn the token, and that's going to be kind of a flywheel that comparable to what BNB could be or other traders token trading tokens. So I think we're just yet to see when the tipping point is going to happen, but I'm pretty sure that at the moment everything's going to kind of align and pick up. People are going to realize how strong the tokenomics is.
Yeah, how much of it is targeted? I was kind of looking through some of those bets as well, the recent ones placed. I
Yeah.
mean, when it comes to training a model like this, what's kind of the strategy? And you mentioned the vision piece. You and I were talking before we started here, kind of the idea of how that even, what goes into training something like that, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So you need to, first of all, and that's the reason why we have like internal like quant, within our team. You need to put together like the kind of the basics, all the scaffolding around your model. You have to decide what could be your features. So vision is one of our features. And then you need to understand what kind of data you need, what you need to track, and what you need to use to feed the model and the agent, so to speak. The challenge for us was to obviously leverage, computer vision, which is quite complex, if I'm honest with you. But now it's also super interesting because as prediction markets grow, we're going to be able to do some live, betting and stuff like that. The other challenge was to be fast enough and quick enough to operate on prediction markets. So training wise, you need to find good features, you need to find good data sources. That's also where AI helps you, helps you get off the ground. And then apart from that, you also need to build like a very strong architecture. So I would say from a training perspective, yeah, the most complex thing to do is to set up the right features, list of features, and find the right data sources.
Yeah, I was just looking at. I think it's my Bears bets on there. My Bears Packers game there. I saw that Sire has bets against my Bears, and they lost that one. I don't know. To be fair, there weren't a lot of humans even watching that game that thought that the Bears could come back, but bear
Yeah.
down. And I do wonder, I mean, like, as this expands, is it always meant to be purely sports betting, or are you going to expand this into other things as well? Because, I don't know, so much of what prediction markets have become is a lot of people are very much worried still as they get regulated here in the US around insider trading and the likes that these markets may always be kind of levied to that. I don't
Mm.
know if that's something that AI can potentially either, help or.
AI could potentially spot irregularities, I would say, but then, on our end, we'd definitely just stick to sports. And the biggest opportunity for us, obviously, would be to grow the current vault from 1 million FDV, roughly, not FDV, sorry, TVL, to something like 10 million, which would be quite of a good size for like a directional model, and then grow the market making one to 100 million, roughly, and probably operate within different, prediction markets and do market making, a bit of arbitrage, yada yada yada. So I think the
Mhm.
sports market for us is definitely big enough. And when you start setting up the features that we were just talking about for you to build a model and make it relevant, then it's very hard to go from sports to politics or, any other
Yeah.
things. I think sticking to sports is probably going to be like a good thing for us.
Well, I mean that's the interesting thing about prediction markets in general. I feel like it's kind of the antithesis of where a lot of kind of intelligence has been in the past, where it's kind of like general versus niche knowledge. Particularly, trading as a human, it seems like those are the markets that can be kind of most monetized among us. But in terms of the background here, and you mentioned the team, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask more about who's been involved aside from the Coinage members who flag SIRE to us. I'm curious about where the tractions come from. You mentioned kind of hitting $10 million. I think the vault, correct me if I'm wrong, right now is closer to 1 million.
Yeah, yeah, it was at 1 million, and now I think it's around 920-ish, $1,000. So the traction is definitely so from a team perspective. So we're obviously core contributors. So everyone is working under this core hat. We have Adam, who's joined us like a few months ago. 10 years of experience in sports syndicates, led strategies for betting companies in different regions of the world. So very experienced operator. We've got three quants, some high frequency trading kind of architects, so that they could build the right scaffolding for us to operate in different markets. And also as a score co-founder, we have Peter Cotton, Dr. Peter Cotton, who's kind of a quant legend, in Wall Street, and he's obviously helping as a score, member. So that's pretty much the team. And from a bankroll perspective or TVL perspective, it's all coming from the community. So the amazing thing is even if we're a small token and we have a small community, the traction and the support from the community is actually quite impressive. We first opened a vault, I think that was like 3 months ago with a 500K limit. We filled the limit in like 6 minutes, and then we reopened the vault from raising the limit to 1 million, and we filled the limit in a few hours. So, and it was, I think, during one of the worst day, the market was bleeding and stuff like that, but we still managed to get to the 1 million mark. So yeah, the
Yeah.
support, since day one is quite incredible.
What has been some of the hardest things to overcome in terms of building this out? Because I was reading through kind of the site in terms of how it functions for people to potentially take their money back.
Yeah,
How you wouldn't want people to front run wins, how you wouldn't want people to get out before the losses. I mean, it seems like this space entirely is moving so quick that like each one of these things, especially when you converge AI with crypto, it's like
yeah,
all of those little split second things are always
yeah, definitely.
tricky. But what have you kind of perfected?
So for now, we just implemented some very basic staking rules as you could find on other DeFi projects. So there's a bit of a cooldown when you want to withdraw, and obviously we are posting results with a very small delay. So it's not like the results you can see on the websites are slightly delayed, but it's more for everyone to be able to see and actually see the performance and withdraw kind of all together if they want to, and not let someone wipe out all the profits if they find a way to kind of front things. So it was more about being fair to the community rather than trying to really prevent some exploits. Obviously all the contracts are audited and stuff like that, but yeah, the rules we put together were more to kind of let people from different time zones to be able to see what happens, and and just enjoy the performance, good or bad, by the way.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess as we have projects on for this too, and we kind of look back on what's been executed in 25, look ahead to what's happening in 26. You've mentioned kind of some of those milestones in terms of the dollar terms
Yeah.
of hitting those new vaults. What are the other milestone or markers that you're looking to achieve in 2026 when it comes to roadmap? Where SIRE goes from here?
I think obviously more markets, um, being able to trade real time, so almost zero latency, thanks to computer vision. I think that's going to be the biggest milestones. That's something we're working on since day one, and we're going to be able to deliver probably this year. So I think just refining everything from all from a fundamental perspective. So being able to process things faster from a market making point of view, launching the market making vault, and then adding the full computer vision capability from what we're building at Score. This is pretty much, I mean, this is pretty simple. I would say it's three different milestones, but for us,
Hmm.
that's going to make a huge difference, a huge difference.
Yeah, when you mentioned, I was looking at that too in terms of what you're building at Score. It's not only tied to that; it's computer vision writ large, correct? In terms of a little bit of everything, not just sports.
Y- Yeah, Score is more of a kind of general purpose vision AI research company. Um, and we're working with different clients and customers in different fields to actually build vision agents, so to speak. So they can create a policy or or some rules, and they run our models, and then they get the outcome they're expecting to get. And we see SIRE as one of the most obvious use cases. So that's the reason why we launched SIRE first, by the way, because we thought it would be a great use case for Score as well.
Is there, by the way, I mean, is there an opportunity here for partnerships when it comes to certain prediction markets? I'm always kind of blown away by how many have popped up and how many are still yet to pop up, and how SIRE might fit into those. I don't know if that's also something that would be tied into
Yeah.
kind of the tokenomics, if that revenue would also be included here, or if that's a separate thing.
So we make no, that's not a separate thing, and because I mean we're running Score and Score is pretty successful, if I'm honest with you. We always pledged that any revenue coming from airdrops or partnerships would go back like 100% to the token. And obviously we had a first partnership with Kalshi when they just launched. Um, from what people could see online, they're working with crypto projects, but I think they're not really like pushing it like fully. So recently we decided to have conversations with other prediction markets, and we landed a pretty cool partnership with the other big one, which is going to be announced hopefully in the next few days or weeks. There's also a lot of new prediction markets that are reaching out to us because some of them want to be completely focused on sports focused, so it could be also interesting for Sire. But yeah, I think on our end, the more AUM, let's say, the more TVL we can get from the community, the stronger we would be to kind of the more leverage we would have when we have a conversation with the different actors in this prediction market space. But what I can tell you is that even if SIRE is quite small, all the top prediction markets knew about us when we had our first meeting with them.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's pretty interesting too. Just kind of given, everything, as you said, sports, even FanDuel, I think just recently teamed up with the CME for kind of FanDuel predicts and their prediction markets, and so all of these are kind of whether it's sports only, whether it's prediction markets, coming both directions. So I don't know. It's a very interesting thing. As I mentioned. In terms of nominations, and of course, anyone watching this will be able to vote at Coinage.media using a Coinage NFT and/or holding our Coinage token or Brave's basic attention token to vote in advance, sire. It's a very interesting slate of the top projects that we have on here, Max, and obviously we always like kind of giving the final word to the founders who come on to talk about this. It's an interesting matchup between Sire and Base because of course
And
Base
Base,
being
wow.
ETH layer two, ETH layer two, that's a big boy, but I still think, there are elements here in terms of the way that you've built this and the way that our own members have nominated it that, like, I don't know. We debate the idea of what does crypto even really mean anymore. And there is some element here that obviously us as a community-owned show that has paid distributions back to our NFT holders as a community-owned show. I respect this. I respect what you've built here. I think the idea of that is more akin to crypto than maybe a centralized, layer two, or an increasingly, if you were to ask Jesse Pollock and the team,
I appreciate
increasingly
it.
more decentralized layer two. But final word to you, man. I mean, in terms of the accomplishments and what you've done and what you want to get done in 26, I mean, the floor is yours.
No, I appreciate this, and obviously, Sire is a base token, so that would be crazy to beat them, but I'm not dreaming. Um, yeah, no. So no, last words on my end would be that we are genuinely trying to democratize access to high frequency trading in sports. Sire for us would always be a way for people to set on the 3% side, of people hopefully making money on sports markets. I think as prediction markets, grow, having tools like that could be interesting for a lot of people. We definitely know where we're heading towards to. The team is, super excited about the opportunity. I think we have a very, very high pain tolerance and risk tolerance as well, given our backgrounds. And we don't see a reason why we would stop, pushing it because it's just for us the perfect way to kind of showcase what we could do in AI, what we could do with vision, what we could do with, high frequency trading. So yeah, if people want to know a bit more about what we do, I'm always available on X or, on Telegram or stuff like that. And I mean, for us, it's already like amazing to be nominated. So thanks again. And thanks to your community for that.
Of course, man. Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. And just by curiosity, because I'm also curious in these 97 versus 3. Where are those numbers coming from? Because if that's the case, maybe I should feel
Pretty
way
much,
less bad about losing money on these things.
that's pretty much the industry numbers. If you run any research or if you chat GPT it or, whatever, just Google it, you'll see that it's roughly always the case, 97 against 3.
Wow, that's not very good. But I mean, I think that's the bar here in terms of watching this all play out, and it's exciting, man. Like I said, thank you for coming on, walking us through what SIRE has to offer. We'll see how the voting plays out, and obviously, if you're watching this, head to coinage.media to cast your vote as well. Max, can't thank you enough for coming on, man. Congratulations again.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, guys.